The hype for crossovers is at an all-time high. Every automaker currently is making cars with a good ground clearance because they are selling more than station wagons and saloons. Mazda has not been left behind. For example, Mazda has the CX3, they have their best selling CX5, they have a CX30, they used to have a CX7, they have a CX8 which I have here, they have a CX9, they are having a CX50, they are recently launched a CX60, and now there is a CX90 coming soon. So you can see it is something automakers want to capitalize on. So what exactly is the Mazda CX8? I want you to picture the Mazda CX8 as something like a long wheelbase or an elongated Mazda CX5, because if you're checking this car from let me say from a distance and you're checking the face, you may think that it's a CX5 until it gets close. So picture this car as a long CX5, or let me say a CX5 with a long wheelbase. So let's start with the design of this 2019 Mazda CX8. How does it look like? It comes with these slim LED headlights which come with a daytime running lamps as standard. It's a very beautiful offering. We have these small fog lights here. They're very tiny, actually you may not notice them, especially when they are off. We have this big Mazda logo here. When you're looking at this phase, considering when you're looking at the execution of this code soul of motion design language, it makes this car actually one of the best looking products, especially from the face. So that is I think that is why Mazda got it right, especially when it comes to the design of their cars. Their faces are very appealing, actually, if you ask me. On the side profile, you can see where I'm saying this is an elongated or long wheel Mazda CX5, because you can see it's more of a station wagon actually, which is has good ground clearance, because they have elongated this rear side, of course, to add an extra row of seating to make it a 7-seater. This car has like 19 to 20 centimeters of ground clearance to make sure you don't go spoiling the under parts of this car, especially when you're going on bad terrains. It is complemented by these 19-inch alloy wheels, which improve the ground clearance of this car. On the rear side is pretty similar to what you're finding in many Mazda cars. We have this CX8 all-wheel drive badge here to tell you that this car, the engine sends power to all the four wheels. These tail lights actually, which we have this ring here, and then they look pretty good. You have these chrome finishes here, the Mazda logo here, and then you have parking sensors on this downside. You have a double exhaust system, and then you have this Sky Active technology badge here. So the overall analysis of this car is a beautiful offering which will appeal to those people who want something good. Let me give you a cabin tour of this 2019 Mazda CX8, and it's a very good place to be if you ask me, because it is let me say it's way better than what you are finding in the current CX in the current Mazda cars you are purchasing out there, because it's improved. It's I think the Mazda now is currently moving to start competing with let me say German cars, because the interior crafting is actually one of the best, especially when you're looking at ex-Japanese cars. But what I may not find appealing, especially when looking at the competition, is the size of these infotainment screen. It's actually very small if you ask me, but then that is going, actually it can be a deal breaker, especially for someone who wants let me say something quite big. But the execution of this car is pretty good. This center console here, we have two cup holders here, we have a electric parking brake, we have a sports mode, sports driving mode. We have these knobs here because the sound system is controlled from this center console, and then we have these climate control buttons, of course, for we have heated seats here. And then on this console here, we have it's not that deep, of course. Inside here we have a USB port, we have an auxiliary port, and then it's a pretty good place to be. Driver assistant features in this car include a reversing camera, in cruise control button, include a lane departure assist, rear vehicle monitoring, and then traction control, and then I-stop, because when you're in traffic you need to save gas. So this car will actually go off, but when traffic gets going, it will come back into life again to improve on your fuel consumption. So the execution of this car is actually pretty good. And then Yeah, it's going to appeal to many, especially if you are into looks. And I think Mazda made sure that their winning formula has to be in the look sector, both in the interior and in the exterior styling. The CX8 is actually a very comfortable car to sit in, because from my sitting position here, I'm actually feeling pretty comfortable. The seats here, of course, are leather seats, which are, for example, this driver seat I have, it's electronically adjusted with plenty of adjustments, and of course they have a memory setting. For example, if you are two people using this car, you can save your seating adjustment to some level. Then when you hop into the car, the car will be able to remember the position with adjusted the seat last time out. So for comfort levels, I think Mazda did a pretty good job, especially in this CX8. For the driver, there is not much headroom, if you ask me, compared to cars in the same segment and at the same price tag, because actually it's more of what we are finding in a CX5. Not that good, especially for tall drivers, but it's not a deal breaker considering I'm a tall person and I still have like 5 to 10 centimeters of headroom. The knee room is pretty good, and then it's an accommodative car, if you ask me. The second row of this Mazda CX8 is still accommodative considering my driving position. You see I have, let me say, a good amount of knee room. The headroom for the rear passengers is also pretty good, and the seats here feel pretty comfortable. Of course, this middle seat, it may not be good, especially for long distance traveling, because you see I'm seated somewhat higher. And then good thing with this car, I've realized it comes with these side blinds. For example, if the scorching sun is already disturbing you, you can use them for your privacy and of course to evade the scorching sunlight. The CX8 also comes with a third row seat, and that is what distinguishes this car from the CX5. That's why it's gonna appeal to especially those people who have families and maybe you need to haul around 7 people. In 7-seater mode, there is not much space you are going to get because the third row seat eats into the boot space. So this car is practical, especially when you are utilizing only 5 seats. So let's talk about the engine options for this 2019 Mazda CX8. Under the hood of this 2019 Mazda CX8 lives a 2.5 liter natural aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine. This engine makes around 190 brake horsepower, which is sent to all the 4 corners of this car via 6-speed automatic transmission. Actually, the Mazda CX8 doesn't come with a manual transmission, so if you like taking matters into your own hands, maybe you look at something like a CX5. Now, this is one of the engine flavors. It's actually, the engine here is also used in Mazda CX5, and it's also used in the Mazda 10s or the Mazda 6 if you like. Later on, of course, Mazda brought a 2.5 liter which is turbocharged. That is from 2020. They actually brought it from the CX9. Nowadays it's actually even applicable in 2020 versions of the CX5 or later. Another engine option is the common 2.2 turbo diesel, which also has an option of a 2-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So good thing with the Mazda petrol engine is that, of course, previously I've made a video on how to maintain the diesel flavors, but if you don't have money, for example, to do some modifications and you want something that is pretty simple to live with, the petrol ones are better. Of course, they don't pack, for example, this one may not be as punchy as the diesel flavor, but it's less stressful to live with. That's why if you don't have a good maintenance behavior, it's good for going for petrol flavors ahead of the diesel ones, because the diesel ones may drive better, but they need a little bit of care for you to enjoy that power and fuel economy in one package. Mazda claims the 2.5 liter here should be able to give you like 12-13 kilometers per liter, but I highly doubt that one because it's a big car which weighs almost 2 tons. So realistically, the best fuel figures you're going to get with this car being an all-wheel drive will be around 10 kilometers per liter, which I think it's pretty decent for a 7-seater and an all-wheel drive car. So about the reliability of this car, I've not registered any issues so far from my research, and also user reviews from those people who have locally used the car and overseas users. It has a pretty good reliability rating, and then the ownership costs are pretty low compared to the peers. So the Mazda CX8 is going to check your box. If, for example, you fancy a CX5, but your family is big and you need a third row seating. Of course, the price tag for the 2019 Mazda CX8 is not going to be cheap, because for example this one is going for 5.5 million shillings. At that price range, maybe options on the table will be something like a Lexus RX 450h, or maybe the Lexus NX 300 and maybe the 200T. Of course, those cars come as 5-seaters. This is one of the cars in that class that comes as a 7-seat options. The styling here is, of course, is polarizing. It's pretty good. The interior, it looks good, it's comfortable, and then it's going to appeal to you if you want something, let me say, stylish, appealing, and accommodative. That is the honest analysis. If and only if you can meet the hefty price tag of this car. So I guess as at now you've known a little bit over the 2019 CX8, and when we'll be doing a test drive for this car, you're going to learn more, and that's why you should stay on this channel. So if you are new here, make sure you subscribe and remain on this channel, because we have a lot of videos coming up.